Jamaica is culturally. And we see some man come turn it over now and do a different thing. And it has spread too. Like a disease, like a cancer, it has spread. And I said it last week, I'll say it again. It will appear to me that the politician, the preacher, and the artist, them, is conspiring against the people. That is what they do. They are conspiring against the people. The three of them is in bed together, codes against the people, against the good mindset that flourished over years of listening and listening and listening. And we see the politician them come twist it up, long time them do that. We see the preacher them twist it up even longer than the politician them. And now we see the artists. We see the artists them now, I twist up the people them, lying in bed with both deceivers of the people them, politician, preacher, and now we see the artists them join the fray, deceiving the people continuously. We see them doing it with the young people them. We see the behavior, the mannerism. We see how the music got deep into the attitude and behavior. The things them that people say to people and the things them that people put on as music out there. It's almost like the one them I try reverse everything that was fought for. Everything. Maybe them don't even know what them are doing. Maybe they were injected with a virus or with a chip that caused them to be very schizophrenic. Today them sing that and tomorrow them sing the opposite. Today them sing that and tomorrow them sing the opposite. Almost schizophrenic. Almost schizophrenic, if not schizophrenic. And the youth them who listen is confused and mixed up. And I'm not taking no blame for it. I'm not taking no blame for it. There's something happening now that wasn't happening before. That is causing so much decadent behavior. And so much disease. Because the decadent behavior come like a disease. And there's more disease now than ever before. And the brainwashing of dirty minds. The brainwashing has gone mad when we look at behaviors now and attitudes. Disrespect and cruelty at the highest level. Young 15, 16-year-old, 14-year-old are kill people mercilessly. Mercilessly. Children get so vicious. That's unbelievable. Men turning against them women and turning against them children. Young men. When I talk about the whole man, I talk about young men turning against them children, turning against them girlfriend turning against boyfriend, and every one of them, when you look at what is going on, get injected with that virus. A virus spread. Whether it come through the ear, whether it come through the food, or whether it come through the clothes, whether it come through the education system, whether it come through the church system, whether it come through the music, is one force. One force that lick up the people them head. One force. It does come in different ways. Different manifestation of that force that we are confronted with now. That we who know that African redemption must be a reality, no matter how much diversion take place. It must be a reality. African redemption is a must. You think say all of them man were dead from them years, I was just dead so in vain. No. And we see how the thing can go and how the thing can work, you know. But it's just a time and a half time because you know, all we are going, you know. All we are going. There was a time when we couldn't let on radio talk in a Jamaican talk. And I talk about the Rasta, and I talk about this, and I talk about that. There was a time when I certain music we have play on radio, couldn't play on radio. You understand? So, we see the expression, people free to express themselves. Now we have to confront what are they expressing. So now that we have the freedom to express ourselves, we have to find out now what are we expressing. What is our contribution to the upliftment and advancement of African people? When Leonard Howell did say, we now going to look upon the King of England as our king. We are going to look upon that king, Haile Selassie, as our redeemer. He must show we are sign, he must show we are levels. And now we see the culture and the cultural expression and cultural manifestation is so Americanized and so colonialized that it's seeping away so that we don't even know, so it infect we. Because it come upon with so subtle that we just accept it arms. Because we can't recognize it if you don't know where we're coming from. Every road will lead you there. Any road will lead you there. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Steve Biko said that, and we are reiterating it. The greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed.
The Council of Nicaea was an effort by Constantine to control the people through military and through religion. Whoever can control your concept of God has a weapon more powerful than any physical weapon, than any sword, any gun, any atomic weapon. Whoever controls how you relate to the unseen presence of God will not only control you, but can control your children and your children's children. So it was at the Council of Nicaea that the Constantine, this emperor, needed to find a way to consolidate his power, because the people that he conquered in various parts of the world had different religions, different ideologies. And it was at Nicaea where he brought together these theologians, these scholars, if you will, to hammer out one uniform theology that everyone would follow.
And if Constantine could convince people to take Jesus as God on earth and change that he was a human being, then they could take over the control of the Catholic Church and make one. So they invited. And one of the priests was an African known as Arius. Bishop Arius. There's a book called Blacks Who Died for Jesus by Mark Hyman. Gives the story of Arius. Arius now gets word that Constantine knows Arius is coming to dispute this. Because he's saying, how are you going to tell people this? Nobody's going to believe that story. That Immaculate Conception, come on, we know that's written on the walls of Egypt. That's a mythology, that's an analogy. You're not supposed to believe that story. That's a nice story to live by, that each and every one of us has Jesus within us and every birth is an Immaculate Conception. But there was no one boy born as the Son of God, the freak. Come on, you can't. Constantine said, look, come on over here. Nicaea, I'm going to talk to you. He found out that he was going to be assassinated. So he fled into Europe with his followers. Arius and his followers became known as the Aryans. Wouldn't Hitler have a heart attack if he knew who the real Aryans were? They were a bunch of black folk.
Everybody who was worshiping Isis and dealing with mostly a Kemetic religious philosophy, they said, we can't do this. This is ridiculous. This reminds me, there's no man called Jesus Christ. We ain't never heard of him. Well, Jesus Christ will take Jesus, which was the sun god in the West, and we'll take Christos, which was the sun god in the East, and we'll put them together. We'll have a name. And so what did he do? A man named Apollonius of Tyana, at that time, who had studied philosophy in Kemet, was teaching. He was a healer, working miracles. he was a hero at that time. So he became the template for Jesus Christ.
I would like to tell you a few personal stories about what I like to call the danger of the single story. I thought about this when I left Nigeria to go to university in the United States. I was 19. My American roommate was shocked by me. She asked where I had learned to speak English so well and was confused when I said that Nigeria happened to have English as its official language. She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey. So after I had spent some years in the US as an African, I began to understand my roommate's response to me. If I had not grown up in Nigeria, and if all I knew about Africa were from popular images, I too would think that Africa was a place of beautiful landscapes, beautiful animals, and incomprehensible people fighting senseless wars, dying of poverty and AIDS, unable to speak for themselves, and waiting to be saved by a kind white foreigner. So that is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing, over and over again, and that is what they become. I recently spoke at a university where a student told me that it was such a shame that Nigerian men were physical abusers like the father character in my novel. I told him that I had just read a novel called American Psycho, and that it was such a shame that young Americans were serial murderers. It would never have occurred to me to think that just because I had read a novel in which a character was a serial killer, that he was somehow representative of all Americans. And now this is not because I'm a better person than that student, but because of America's cultural and economic power, I had many stories of America. I had read Thailand, Updike, and Steinbeck, and Gateskill. I did not have a single story of America. I've always felt that it is impossible to engage properly with a place or a person without engaging with all of the stories of that place and that person. The consequence of the single story is this: it robs people of dignity. It makes our recognition of our equal humanity difficult. It emphasizes how we are different rather than how we are similar. Stories matter. Many stories matter. Stories have been used to dispossess and to malign, but stories can also be used to empower and to humanize. Stories can break the dignity of the people, but stories can also repair that broken dignity.
Yes, good words. The single story is a problem. Serious thing. We grow up for hear one thing, and that one thing was given to us by the same people them who enslaved we. So why we come now and feel say the people them who enslaved we is going to save we from the things that them put in our way to make we stumble and fall? Why we think that? For years, hundreds, thousands of years, these people have put us in a situation where we in the quagmire of filth. Why we think say them going to put something in our consciousness, something to make us uplift and advance ourselves as a people, not as individuals, as a people. How we feel that, how we come to that understanding. When Sizzla did young and really did strike way, he make a song say, white man, God can't save you from white man oppression. White man, God can't save you from white man oppression. Ironically, some of us blacken the white man God. Ironically, some of us blacken the white man God and worship the white man God as a black man. That is a travesty. That is a danger to the black psyche. when all you do, you tan the white man, you put him in the sun and give him a tan, and you feel so because you tan him now, the concept and the ideas that him project to you is different because of the tanning. Oh, how stupid we are to really believe that because we switch and turn round the white God and turn him into a black God, it means the ideas that him perpetuate and the thinking is different. It's the same person. It's the same person. A bleacher is a bleacher is a bleacher. It's the same person. Him living at the ghetto same way. Him in all the problems where him did start up before him bleach same way. But all him doing things so when him bleach, it'll make him move up to a certain level. And him never move up. Never. So why you think you know you can, instead of bleach Jesus and bleach Christianity into put on a black bleach on it, you feel it's going to different? And the same thing. It's not different from the youth them who are bleach, who believe so because them bleach are a different thing. We have to wake up. Marcus Garvey tell me, you know, if you have no confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence, you have won even before you have started. And Leonard will come rise way up and say, look here, man. The King of England? No. We need a king who look like we will come from our root. The root of people without a knowledge of them history. Is like a tree without root. So why should we now left the root and go to the branch? The root never lasts. It just get covered up. And we now try to cover it up and I paint it as a color now. To make it look different. But it's the same root. And if the root rotten down there, so you can't do nothing. You have to just dig up the tree and throw it away and plant another seed. Wake up, African people. Wake up. We need to wake up. Seriously wake up. I want to say wake up, I mean like wake up.
The Council of Nicaea was an effort by Constantine to control the people through military and through religion. Whoever can control your concept of God has a weapon more powerful than any physical weapon, than any sword, any gun, any atomic weapon. Whoever controls how you relate to the unseen presence of God will not only control you, but can control your children and your children's children. So it was at the Council of Nicaea that the Constantine, this emperor, needed to find a way to consolidate his power, because the people that he conquered in various parts of the world had different religions, different ideologies. And it was at Nicaea where he brought together these theologians, these scholars, if you will, to hammer out one uniform theology that everyone would follow.
And if Constantine could convince people to take Jesus as God on earth and change that he was a human being, then they could take over the control of the Catholic Church and make one. So they invited. And one of the priests was an African known as Arius. Bishop Arius. There's a book called Blacks Who Died for Jesus by Mark Hyman. Gives the story of Arius. Arius now gets word that Constantine knows Arius is coming to dispute this. Because he's saying, how are you going to tell people this? Nobody's going to believe that story. That Immaculate Conception, come on, we know that's written on the walls of Egypt. That's a mythology, that's an analogy. You're not supposed to believe that story. That's a nice story to live by, that each and every one of us has Jesus within us and every birth is an Immaculate Conception. But there was no one boy born as the Son of God to freak. Come on, you can't. Constantine said, look, come on over here. I say, I want to talk to you. He found out that he was going to be assassinated. So he fled into Europe with his followers. Arius and his followers became known as the Aryans. Wouldn't Hitler have a heart attack if he knew who the real Aryans were? They were a bunch of black folk.
Everybody who was worshiping ISIS and dealing with mostly a Kemetic religious philosophy, they said, we can't do this. This is ridiculous. This reminds me, there's no man called Jesus Christ. We ain't never heard of him. Well, Jesus Christ will take Jesus, which was the sun god in the west, and we'll take Christos, which was the sun god in the east, and we'll put them together. We'll have a name. And so what did he do? A man named Apollonius of Tyana, at that time, who had studied philosophy in Kemet, was teaching. He was a healer, working miracles. He was a hero at that time, so he became the template for Jesus Christ.
I would like to tell you a few personal stories about what I like to call the danger of the single story. I thought about this when I left Nigeria to go to university in the United States. I was 19. My American roommate was shocked by me. She asked where I had learned to speak English so well and was confused when I said that Nigeria happened to have English as its official language. She asked if she could listen to what she called my tribal music and was consequently very disappointed when I produced my tape of Mariah Carey. So after I had spent some years in the US as an African, I began to understand my roommate's response to me. If I had not grown up in Nigeria, and if all I knew about Africa were from popular images, I too would think that Africa was a place of beautiful landscapes, beautiful animals, and incomprehensible people fighting senseless wars, dying of poverty and AIDS, unable to speak for themselves, and waiting to be saved by a kind white foreigner. So that is how to create a single story. Show a people as one thing, as only one thing, over and over again, and that is what they become. I recently spoke at a university where a student told me that it was such a shame that Nigerian men were physical abusers like the father character in my novel. I told him that I had just read a novel called American Psycho, and that it was such a shame that young Americans were serial murderers. It would never have occurred to me to think that just because I had read a novel in which a character was a serial killer, that he was somehow representative of all Americans. And now this is not because I'm a better person than that student, but because of America's cultural and economic power, I had many stories of America. I had read Thailand, Updike, and Steinbeck, and Gateskill. I did not have a single story of America. I've always felt that it is impossible to engage properly with a place or a person without engaging with all of the stories of that place and that person. The consequence of the single story is this: it robs people of dignity. It makes our recognition of our equal humanity difficult. It emphasizes how we are different rather than how we are similar. Stories matter. Many stories matter. Stories have been used to dispossess and to malign, but stories can also be used to empower and to humanize. Stories can break the dignity of a people, but stories can also repair that broken dignity.
Yes, good words. The single story is a problem. Serious thing. We grow up for hear one thing, and that one thing was given to us by the same people them who enslaved we. So why we come now and feel say the people them who enslaved we is going to save we from the things that them put in our way to make we stumble and fall? Why we think that? For years, hundreds, thousands of years, these people have put us in a situation where we in the quagmire of filth. Why we think say them going to put something in our consciousness, something to make us uplift and advance ourselves as a people, not as individuals, as a people. How we feel that, how we come to that understanding. When Sizzla did young, and really did strike way, he make a song say, white man, God can't save you from white man oppression. White man, God can't save you from white man oppression. Ironically, some of us blacken the white man God. Ironically, some of us blacken the white man God and worship the white man God as a black man. That is a travesty. That is a danger to the black psyche. When all you do, you turn the white man, you put him in the sun and give him a tan, and you feel so because you turn him now. The concept and the ideas that he project to you is different because of the tanning. Oh, how stupid we are to really believe that because we switch and turn round the white God and turn him into a black God, it means the ideas that him perpetuate and the thinking is different. It's the same person. It's the same person. A bleacher is a bleacher is a bleacher. It's the same person. Him living at the ghetto same way. Him in all the problems where him did start up before him bleach same way. But all him doing things so when him bleach, it'll make him move up to a certain level. And him never move up. Never. So why you think you can, instead of bleach Jesus and bleach Christianity into put on a black bleach on it, you feel it's going to different? And the same thing. It's not different from the youth them who are bleach, who believe so because them bleach are a different thing. We have to wake up. Marcus Garvey tell me, if you have no confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. But with confidence, you have won even before you have started. And Leonard will come rise way up and say, look here, man. The King of England? No. We need a king who look like we will come from our root. The root of people without a knowledge of them history. Is like a tree without root. So why should we now left the root and go to the branch? The root never lasts. It just get covered up. And we now try to cover it up and I paint it as a color now. To make it look different. But it's the same root. And if the root rotten down there, so you can't do nothing. You have to just dig up the tree and throw it away and plant another seed. Wake up, African people. Wake up. We need to wake up. Seriously wake up. I want to say wake up, I mean like wake up.
Household workers have made such a difference in our lives. Show them we care. Nominate your household worker for the 2018 Grace Kennedy Heather Little White Household Worker of the Year Award. Complete the nomination form. Send this along with your 200-word essay to gracekennedy@gkco.com or to Grace Kennedy, 73 Harbour Street, Kingston by November 7. Top male and female awardees will win big prizes totaling over $1 million. Nominate your household worker today. Show them we care.
The National Environment and Planning Agency is advising the public that the 2018 bird hunting season ended on September 23, 2018. Hunting of game birds during the closed season is prohibited by law. Any person caught shooting during the closed season will be prosecuted. Hunters are reminded to submit completed hunters' bird shooting report forms to NEPA in person or by registered mail before December 31, 2018. Report all illegal hunting to NEPA at 876-754-7540.
Everybody has a chance to win a Campari Pop Style October 6th in Kingston at 876 Terrace. West Southgate Plaza. Music by Bishop Escobar. Free with invite or ticket. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Drink responsibly. No weapons allowed.
War! Musically. Watch out, nobody hear me. This a boom energy drink all star sound clash. Watch out, this a the King of the North edition. Starting October the 13th. 6 sound like a war. Musically. Delta Force, Hurricane, Soul Lion, Exclusive, Upsetter, Chronic Supreme. Music by No Green Soul. Place to be Kilalgo Beach, Sentence Bay. Yo, admission $500. This a King of the North edition. Kilalgo Beach, right a Sentence Bay Highway. Sponsored by Boom Energy Drink.
Ring the alarm, another sound is dying.
Boom Energy Drink all star sound clash.
This Thursday, Lucky Dollar takes style to Savlamar. It's in style to get deals, credit, layaway and warranty. Lucky Dollar style. Up to 6% off mattresses, up to 40% off furniture, up to 20% off appliances. Free DVD player with any 32-inch or larger smart TV. 1 tin down and 24 to 30 months credit. Yes, 1 tin. Shop only at Lucky Dollar to win $1 million. Lucky Dollar takes style to Savlamar. 82 Great Georgia Street. This Thursday, the Irie Posse, MC Teddy, and ZJ Electra will be there live from 2 p.m. You can't go wrong. A Lucky Dollar.
New and improved great is. Them can't keep up to me pace. Word the park, the in and the place. So my under vibes start give me some space. Right over proof from we a drink on the bar. Rum bar, keep praising the bar. Bring a quarter flask in the star. Rum bar, keep praising the bar. Praising the bar, raising the bar. Praising the bar, raising the bar. Praising the bar, raising the bar. Rum bar, keep praising the bar.
Must be 18 years or older. Drink responsibly.
Swipe, swipe, swipe.
Michelle, what on earth are you doing?
Practicing with my debit card. You didn't hear that Take Style Out is coming up?
But see, are you really serious?
Kevin, Take Style Out is the biggest sales event of the year.
You look like you plan to shop till it drop.
The deals now miss me, but with Multilink, I roll with control.
True, use what you have.
Ah, that's right. With Multilink, I spend what I can afford, not a penny more.
I better start practice swiping my Multilink card too.
Multilink, roll with control.
This Friday, Lucy Bus Park comes alive with the SDC Lucy Economic Fair. Join the IUFM Outside Broadcast crew as we bring you live reports on all the happenings. Lots of excitement, honey taste-off, talent show, best booth competition, live performances, and much more. That's this Friday, IUFM live in Lucy Bus Park, Hanover. The Social Development Commission, building communities, building Jamaica.
Yes, this is the cutting edge, and I refer you. Give thanks, stay with me.
So if you're going to ask about who was one of the most genocidal leaders in history, you'd say Hitler, right? Pol Pot. So if you're going to ask about who was one of the most genocidal leaders in history, you'd say Hitler, right? Pol Pot. Did any of you guess King Leopold II of Belgium? Maybe. Maybe not. Because we are only taught U.S. imperial history in schools, we here at BAYSEE think it'd be a good idea to keep you informed of historical events and figures that may have been overlooked, censored, and forgotten in the whitewashing of our history. So today we bring you the story of King Leopold II of Belgium. Now, King Leopold owned the Congo during his reign as the constitutional monarch of Belgium in the late 1800s. While owning the Congo, King Leopold was responsible for the deaths of over 10 million Congolese. Let me repeat that number one more time so you fully understand it. 10 million people of the Congo were killed during King Leopold's reign. How does this happen, and how do we get from some guy in Belgium killing 10 million Africans in the Congo, and why?
Well, during the 1880s, when Europe was busy kind of dividing up the continent of Africa for its resources, King Leopold II basically came in and laid claim to the uncharted Congo Free State. Just said, it's mine. Even though, hundreds of thousands of millions of people live there. The 905,000 square miles, 76 times larger than Belgium, mind you, African rainforest held a vast fortune of rubber plantations, a commodity that was high demand in the 19th century in Europe.
Yeah. And so seeing that there were these vast wealth of minerals and things that he could make money off of. In 1876, Leopold formed the philanthropic organization, the Association International Africaine, or the International African Association, which sounds so lovely, and became its single shareholder. Under the guise of missionary work and the westernization of African peoples, the International African Association was a vehicle to enslave people of the Congo River Basin, simply to enrich King Leopold. That's
Pretty much.
all that happened.
Pretty
It's
much.
very also similar, this is this is sort of what happened in the United States. People came in and said, hey, you have all of this stuff, so what we're going to do is we're going to tell you that everything you think and everything you do is wrong, and we're going to take your land, and we're going to abuse you, and we're going to do it.
We're going to take all the wealth out of your land.
We're going to take all the wealth out of your free state that was free.
In 23 years, Leopold II ruled Congo, and he massacred, like we said before, 10 million Congolese. This is how he did it, generally, just so we get an idea of how vicious this guy was and how vicious this reign was. He would cut off their hands and genitals. He would flog them to death. He would starve them and put them into forced labor just to get this, all these minerals and the rubber and all that. He would hold children for ransom and burn villages. Lovely guy, this historical figure who's on money, by the way, who we put on money. Lovely.
And how does he do this?
Well, he did this because he had his private mercenary force, the Force Publique, to do his terrorizing and killing. White officers often commanded black soldiers, many of whom have been kidnapped as children during raids, and then raised in like missionaries and things like that. So you kidnap the children, indoctrinate them. They have no other way to go because they're kidnapped. They've lost all their culture. And then you turn these kids, and then you turn these former, members of Congress on themselves. Great, now we're going to use you guys. Tell me a little bit about how the old Force Publique operated.
So you have your charitable organization and your community
police force
that's just supposed to keep everything in line. One of the junior officers that was part of that had described a raid to punish a village that had protested what was going on with him, and this is what he had to say, quote, "The commanding officer ordered us to cut off the heads of the men and hang them on the village palisades, also their sexual members, and to hang the women and children on the palisade in the form of a cross," end quote.
That's incredible. I mean, that's just dirty. I mean, it turns my stomach at how bad
we're all like, what? Was there how did Africa get where it was?
It is today.
How does it happen? It's guys like this.
You didn't learn this in history class. I didn't.
No. You're not told these things. You're not told about it. Everything sort of, like you said, gets whitewashed. And I'll tell you why people like this get away with it. Why he isn't Hitler. Why he isn't Pol Pot. Why people don't say, Leopold, what a horrible human being. That's why it's not a common thing with us. And this is how you get away with it. Because Leopold II committed every one of these atrocities over the years while never stepping foot in the Congo.
The humiliation and violence inflicted on black Americans was mirrored in Africa. At the end of the 19th century, as Europe's powers scrambled for control of the continent's riches, the rights of the indigenous peoples were no impediment to their plans for conquest.
The attitude of white people in all Europe was tabula rasa, terra incognita. Here is a place which is a sort of no man's land. And in other words, we can create our own states there, and we're going to bring order and civilize them. Always the word civilize was used, whatever you were actually doing, whether you were shooting them, you were civilizing them. The vast majority of people thought they would need, at best, a paternalistic treatment, that they would need looking after, like children.
After the Conference of Berlin in 1885, Europeans embarked on a continent-wide land grab. In less than 20 years, 90% of African territory would be placed under European colonial rule. One of the main beneficiaries was King Leopold II of Belgium. Aware of the vast fortune to be made, he persuaded Europe's powers to recognize his sovereignty over one of Africa's largest regions, the Congo.
Here was this man who became King of Belgium in 1865 at the age of 30. Enormously shrewd, enormously greedy, enormously ambitious, and with an absolutely brilliant sense of public relations. He hired the explorer Henry Morton Stanley, the man who found Livingstone, to go to the Congo and essentially stake out this huge territory for him. Leopold got first the United States and then all the major nations of Western Europe to ratify his seizure of this enormous territory in the center of the continent.
First, Leopold created a smokescreen, claiming that he wished to educate a savage people.
They were all really fooled by Leopold because they took him at his word. They thought he was a sort of a man who's going to lose all his money in this crazy philanthropic venture. But they didn't realize what he was really after at all, which was to make himself hugely rich by exploiting brown hands and broad backs who were going to carry the wealth of Africa and load it on ships for his own personal profit.
Extreme violence was employed to impose Leopold's dominion. The right hands of those who failed to meet rubber quotas were severed. Even young children were not spared. In 1896, a German newspaper reported that 1,308 hands had been gathered in one day. Leopold created a 90,000-strong army to enforce his rule. One of his lieutenants wrote, "Only the whip can civilize the black."
They would go into village after village. The army would seize the women of the village and hold them hostage in order to force the men of each village to go into the forest and gather a monthly quota of wild rubber. And they did this for about 20 years. And you can just very easily imagine if you have a village where the women are all being held hostage, the men are all in the forest as forced laborers for several weeks out of each month. There's nobody to plant and harvest food, to go hunting, to go fishing, to do all the normal things through which a community feeds itself. So from all of these causes, starvation, being worked to death, and most of all from the disease that hit this famine-ridden population, the best estimates are that between 1880, when King Leopold first got his hands on the Congo, and 1920, that in that 40-year period, the population was slashed from about 20 million at the beginning of that period to around 10 million at the end. So an enormous loss of human life.
Huge building projects throughout Belgium were funded by Leopold's wealth to celebrate his reign. Leopold built himself a palace, now called the Museum of Central Africa, to display his spoils. For historian Bambi Koipins, whose father is Congolese, the building embodies the myths created to justify Belgian rule in the Congo.
The central hall gives you the idea of what the museum is supposed to be about. You have the central dome through which the light falls on the heart of darkness underneath, you can say. Simultaneously, the dome also presents the sky, God, and then in the central hall, underneath that representation of Leopold II, are statues of Congolese. So what you really see were the hierarchical relationships that structured the relations between the colonized and the colonizers. As a human being, I'm obviously shocked by that, because it is very clear that Africans, the way that this museum was originally set up and the way that most of the exhibitions still work, are really dehumanized because they were seen and represented as savages who really needed the help of outsiders, i.e. Europeans, to transform them into fully civilized human beings.
From the late 19th century onwards, human zoos exhibiting Africans in their primitive state became popular around Europe. One of the first was housed in the grounds of Leopold's museum.
The Africans were put on display so people could go and see them in very much the same way that they could look at, say, caged animals in a zoo, and their reactions were also very similar. There were notices saying that people were not allowed to throw peanuts at the Africans because that was what they did. This museum is also, in a very real sense, the only monument to Belgian colonial history left in this country. So if we dismantle the museum, there is a very great danger that we also eradicate the public memory of that colonial heritage. And once that happens, of course, one paves the way for all these people who say, well, it was not as bad as that, was it? And Leopold II really did do a great deal of good.
In 1908, the year before Leopold died, his crimes were made public and he was forced to hand control of the Congo over to the Belgian government. But the cruelty continued.
The forced labor system did not come to an end because it was so profitable. The new Belgian Congo continued it more or less until the early 1920s. At that point, the Belgian colonial officials realized that their population was shrinking so rapidly from the effects of the forced labor system that they had to modify it. They had to make it less lethal, or otherwise they would have no labor force left.
Although 10 million people died, the Congolese genocide has largely been forgotten in Europe. In the book The Heart of Darkness, the author Joseph Conrad, who witnessed the violence in the Congo, writes, "The conquest of the earth, which mostly means taking it away from those who have a different complexion or slightly flatter noses than ourselves, is not a pretty thing when you look into it too much." It was only at the end of the Second World War, when newsreels documented the Nazis' extermination of 6 million Jews, that the words genocide, Holocaust, and even racism passed into common usage.
Whatever the origins of the word racism, that is when it was first coined, there's no doubt that it was first used to think about Nazi treatment of Jewish people. That was the case that gave the word racism its modern shape and meaning, in fact, brought it into use as a word, and also, therefore, brought it into use in a context where it was unequivocally clear that it was a very bad thing.
Yes, the time is 12 o'clock in Jamaica. Yes, you know, the question is, how did such a vicious, genocidal act in history got pushed under the carpet? Yet still we hear of 6 million Jews that Hitler killed, and we won't forget it. Because the people them who always claim to have been involved in it, not going to allow us to forget it. Because them control the media. Them control what we hear and what we should believe. Why would we not make mention that the King of Belgium killed 10 million Africans, and he never go to Africa yet. Never go to Congo yet. Him stay with him there and allowed and caused that to happen. Talking about people talk too much. That is one man will make 10 million people dead by talking. Most black people now, if you ask them who was Leopold, them tell you them don't know. That is like a story. Who was Leopold? Most youth don't know who named Leopold. As a matter of fact, most ones who are listening to this program now might be the first time ever hear about King Leopold. But guess what? Him know about Hitler. There's so much movies, on top of movies, that has been made about the Jewish Holocaust. That how can we not remember it? How can we forget it? We have to remember it. Because it has been instilled in us that one man named Hitler killed 6 million people. And if we should tell black people this about King Leopold, them almost would have shown it. They would have said, well, you know, them things there, we don't know still, you know, but guess what? The Jews, them now make them pick and forget that. Because you hear them say, if you forget it, you might repeat it. So they're not going to allow you to forget it because them know, say, if you forget it, you might repeat it. Because when it come up, you know, you're not going to know, says it'll come again. So why wouldn't we tell African children in class, in school, about Leopold, who killed 10 million Africans in the Congo? Why wouldn't we make movies and write poems and plays and songs about this cruelty of this individual, Leopold? But we have seen movies, we have heard songs written, poems written against that Austrian guy named Hitler, Adolf Hitler. As a matter of fact, we internalize it to the point where we feel more emotions coming out away when we hear about the Holocaust in Germany than if we would have heard about Leopold killing 10 million black people. How did they get us to think that? How did they get us to accept that? That the next man reality is our, but it's all our reality. All of them is our reality. How the hell did they get us to disregard Leopold cruelty in history and almost deny it to the point where would I tell people, say, well, them things are not important today. You have some people right now you have some people right now in the world who still a hunt. What me say? Them still a hunt the people them who was responsible for the killing of 6 million Jews. You have people who are hunt for them, and if them find out whether them are 100 or 90, them going to try them as murderers. Genocide against a people. How did we miss this atrocity? 10 million from a man way over the other side of the world in Europe named Leopold, King Leopold of Belgium, could devastate the Congo. Till up to today, them can't come out of that. Most of the people that is taking place in Africa now is in the Congo. Because people keep dying because that is the footprint that was indelibly placed in the Congo by this guy named Leopold from Belgium. That is causing a lot of things that is taking place now. You hear Africans that do this and Africans that do that. People say, boy, African wicked, look what African them are do. And them now remember the thing about Genesis. It's about Genesis. But guess what? You push a dog around for so long, one day that dog going to turn and bite you. Biting time gone, long time. 10 million African people dead in history. And the world just sweep it under the carpet like that. And if we go bring it up now, you go hear say no, we have make trouble. When Steven Spielberg make the movie Schindler's List, nobody never ball out about him have stir up misery and stir up trouble. He was showing his perspective of historical happening that take place about his people amongst his people. Schindler's List. So why we, as poets and artists, as actors and dramatists, why can't we write our own history and project it, that our children will not forget? Because, as the man said, a people without a knowledge of them history is like a tree without root. And we have to understand that Leopold statue in Belgium. Belgium is one of the smallest little country them in Europe. Just like how England is an island and control most of the Western world. Belgium is such small. You hear the people them all say how big it is. Did you know that you can put America and China in Africa and still have space? Can you believe that? You can put America and China in Africa and still have space. Yet till when you look on the map, it come like America bigger than Africa. How them do that? How them do that? And it just, they out there so like, it's true. It's like it's true. When they must say it's true. And if you challenge it, you say you're a fool. When you talk about Muta, you know, say them things that they did it for a long time. Where you think say you can't come now, come say nothing no go so. Me say, you can put China, America in this map of Africa and still have space. And if you look on the map of America right now on the map, the perspective of them show you, it show you like say Africa, America is bigger than Africa. How them do that? How they make you moan and groan for 6 million people? But a wicked atrocity do over there with 10 million. And no tears not shed for that. You know, me used to go and move with my grandmother. Every Easter, we go either Tropical Theatre or Carib Theatre. From Jonestown. Me used to love Easter. Me love go with my grandmother. Bun and cheese. Love bun and cheese. Love bun and cheese and drinks. Carbonated drink, puff you up. And we used to go to Carib Theatre, go watch all of the religious stories them, where them used to bring out them that days, the 10 Commandments, the greatest story ever told. All of the biblical stories come out during Easter. And them used to have these stories subliminally placed in our subconscious. That when we left the movie house, we start to internalize them and feel say it's true. Because I will never forget. Me and my granny go to Carib Theatre go watch the greatest story ever told. And when she say the crucifixion, when them have carry the cross, the woman start bawling at the theatre. I say bawl, me not talk about stiff up her nose and no, me mean bawl loud. I made a little youth, me try to see them embarrassed. I say, no, I say, granny, it's a movie. Me I tell my granny that you're not a little pick, you know. Me I tell my granny it's a movie, you know. And my granny a ball and say, no, you know, look what about with Jesus, Lord, look what about with Jesus. And me I say, ratted. And my granny me know such a dead believing such a did about Jesus. How them get you to do that? Because in history, and given that whether we look upon the movie is not history, it was a configuration, it was a mind of an artist and a writer come up with that story. But it becomes so real to us because them know how to make things, the illusion become real. And the thing with black people is that we have so much illusion that we don't know how to use those illusions. We keep it in the illusion, but the only way illusion makes sense is if you know that I can use it. And if you can't use illusion, it's going to blow you away into some more illusion. And them get, if you actually believe it, that my granny standing on the carrot today and a ball, say, look what them are doing with Jesus. And I know without a doubt, if you go a movie and see a historical man, black man, put it to death in such a way that it's shameful, the emotions which flowed wouldn't be there. Because no, it's not only, this is not only a man now that going to dead upon a cross. This is our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So it's a total different emotion, that. Total different emotion. How them get to do that, black people? The emotions that we put out there for 6 million Jews killed by an Austrian named Hitler. Because we don't know of the murders and cruelty that Leopold do in a Congo. We can't have that emotions. And we will never have that emotion because so much things that we know that we want. We don't prefer to forget those things. I don't even know these things that because it don't make no difference in life. But guess what? You have a group of people on earth. Not many of them, but because of them strength, them control a lot of the economy and the finance of the world, especially the Western world. Them control it because them never forget a people without a knowledge of them history. It's like a tree without root. Yeah, this is the continuation. We're continuing the journey.
The thing about a lot of our community is that we're lost. We have this weird savior complex, hundreds of years of conditioning, psychological brainwashing, and media manipulation. We're led to believe that white women are the epitome of beauty and white men are the Prince Charmings of society, while black men are aggressive, thugs who hate, abuse, use, and abandon their women and children. We're taught that black women are ugly, hypermasculine, ghetto, rude, and money-grabbing whores. As children, we're taught to hate our features and glorify anything that's near white. This is why we have children who are upset that they have beautiful, thick, coiled, and curly hair and wish it was straight and thin. Around 20 years ago, black women were ashamed of being curvy or thick. Most black women used to wear clothes that would cover their assets. But now, since white media has deemed curves sexy and popular, we're now told that it's okay to embrace our natural physical attributes. But even then, we're told that our features look better on white people. They steal our culture, our features, and then repackage and rebrand them and try to sell it back to us, all while profiting from the very features they taught us to believe are ugly. They steal our art forms and rewrite our history. The system was designed to destroy us from the inside out. Black men think black women are rude and aggressive and would rather a white or Asian woman because they're submissive. But as soon as a black woman is light-skinned and speaks Spanish, she's automatically sexy and fiery. Black women are led to believe that every black man hates them and is good for nothing, while the white man will take care of her and love her better than her own men. All over TV now we see this extreme push on interracial relationships. They praise interracial relationships and condemn black love. Interracial relationships are promoted as equality, as a true definition of anti-racism, while black love is racist. They tell us black love is a myth and it's dead. If we continue to allow them to misinform us, miseducate us, and mold our opinions, thoughts, and perceptions, there will be no us. Sadly, some of our own men and women are so oblivious to what's really going on. Stockholm Syndrome is very real. I have seen black women defend heinous, disgusting acts simply because the man was white. I have witnessed black men attempt to assist white supremacists in destroying the black woman. Little do they know that without the black woman, there is no black man. Without the black man, there is no black woman. Black men allow white women to disrespect black women. Black women allow white men to disrespect black men. Black men and black women both deny the obvious and apparent fetishization from white men and women and think it's completely acceptable as long as they're willing to get married. Marriage based on sexual lust and fetish. There's also this huge fetish towards mixed and biracial looking babies. And as a man of African descent who looks biracial, I've experienced this firsthand. Our community suffers from colorism, created by the white man, pushed by us. We're now becoming just like our historical and in some cases current oppressors. We're shunning lighter-skinned and biracial people and casting them out of the black community, the same way white people refuse to accept biracial kids. We in turn mock and bully our dark-skinned brothers and sisters, all in the same way racist white people do. We put dark-skinned black women at the bottom of the totem pole. But there are those of us who are aware of what's going on. We're awake, we're conscious, and we see it for what it truly is. Those of us who are not down with the swirl. Those of us who love black women and black men. Those of us who believe in black love. Those of us who know these stereotypes are not true. Those of us who want to see the black community rise and prosper. Those of us who buy black. We also know that not all skin folk are kinfolk. Peace, love, and coconut oil. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Angel.
For every $100 of white family wealth, black families only have about $5.04. In America today, for every $100 of white family wealth, black families only have about $5.04. In fact, the percentage of the total wealth owned by black Americans hasn't really grown appreciably since the Civil War. This level of inequality isn't about failing to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's a direct result of centuries of racist banking policies and practices that systematically kept black Americans from prospering. After emancipation, President Lincoln approved reparations to help former slaves transition from being treated as property to owning property. Each family was supposed to receive 40 acres and a mule. But after Lincoln's assassination, that order was reversed by President Andrew Johnson. What the free slaves did get was a bank, the Freedmen's Savings Bank. Over the next decade, former slaves deposited their hard-earned wages, more than $75 million, into this bank. But it turned out to be a one-way relationship. The bank's white management refused to give any loans to its black clients. Instead, they lost nearly half the money on bad investments before the bank closed in 1874. The federal government failed to hold anyone accountable for this loss. Soon after that, Jim Crow laws were enacted across the South, and owning land became even less attainable for black Americans. In the 1930s, President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal helped create a new middle class, but it also further cemented the racial wealth gap. With the help of the federal infrastructure, tens of thousands of banks and credit unions were created at this time to issue mortgages that, in effect, all went to white families. During this time, neighborhoods were explicitly zoned to reinforce segregation, and those in black neighborhoods were denied mortgages. These policies essentially helped create two separate credit markets, one of the affluent white suburbs and the other of the black ghettos. This is law professor Mirza Baradaran. She wrote about this history in her book, The Color of Money.
The segregation of our banks and our neighborhoods and our mortgage credit, it was a partnership of banks, homeowners who didn't want to live in black areas. It was realtors who wouldn't sell to blacks. It was the market deciding that a white neighborhood was worth more than a black neighborhood. It was the regulators not stepping in. It was the legislature not stepping in. You know, it's not just a clan that did this. You know, it was a full American society.
Civil rights leaders recognized the fundamental economic injustice and proposed bold solutions, including integration, reparations, and land grants. But once again, at this fork in the road of American history, the nation took the wrong path. Instead of going forward with any of these radical solutions, President Nixon proposed black capitalism, a series of policies that encouraged black entrepreneurship and asked corporations to voluntarily support black-owned banks. This policy paid lip service to closing the racial wealth gap, but in reality did nothing to fix the underlying problem. Variations of the toothless black capitalism policy have been carried on by every administration since Nixon.
So we never fixed our legacy of Jim Crow, white supremacy, credit discrimination, all of these systemic problems, and to put the little Band-Aid on it and say, okay, well, we'll celebrate entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs. That's not the answer.
While U.S. law banned explicit racial discriminatory banking in the late 1960s, racism in the industry is still alive and well. In the early 2000s, federally regulated banks and other financial institutions profited from selling many subprime loans, which charged higher interest to compensate for higher risk of default. Many were designed to make repayments difficult or impossible. These toxic loans were purposely peddled to black neighborhoods. In one lawsuit filed by the city of Memphis, Wells Fargo Bank officials testified that employees referred to minority customers as mud people and subprime loans as ghetto loans. And data shows discrimination in lending was based on race, not economic status. By 2006, higher-income black Americans, including many who could qualify for regular loans, were 4 times as likely to have subprime loans as higher-income white Americans. The Federal Reserve's own survey at the time revealed as much, but they didn't act to stop the bank's predatory lending practices. By 2008, the housing bubble burst, and no community felt the consequences more than black Americans.
From Jamaica, Queens, in New York City, to Oakland, California, strong, middle-class African-American neighborhoods that saw nearly 2 decades of gains watched them reversed in a matter not of years, but of months. Any way you look at it, that's an absolute tragedy.
So surely we've learned our lesson from this tragedy? Apparently not. The Trump administration is rolling back regulations put on the big banks after the 2008 financial crisis. And the subprime loans are being sold under the name of non-prime loans in many communities of color. The racial wealth gap has not closed in 200 years, and it won't close in the next 200 unless the government acknowledges its role in creating and perpetuating economic inequalities. It's up to the government to fix the problem it started.
And that is America. That is not nowhere else but America. So if that happen in America, where it no fix, with all these years of liberal arguments about your white liberals that talk about feminism, you hear them talk about equality and all these things. Look upon the conditions. And when they are going like, listen, just listen. That's all you have to do, listen.
So the narrative of black people in the United States was, you came from these primitive, savage people who had no history, and everything you are, we made you.
Strip the African of his knowledge of himself. You can then replace that knowledge with any falsification of consciousness you desire. Once you take from me my knowledge of myself, you can then tell me those lies.
To get someone to actually think that someone else is inferior, you have to raise that type of mentality to a religious level.
Remember, when they attacked Africa, they did not attack Africa physically. They did not attack Africa educationally. They attacked Africa spiritually. Jomo Kenyatta said when the European first came to Africa, the Africans had the land and the white man had the Bible. White man told him to close his eyes, get on his knees and pray. Jomo said when the black man opened his eyes, the white man had the land and the black man had the Bible.
It's just been awful how they've did us on religion. And our people tend to think that even those who feel that they know that white Americans have mistreated us, their grandchildren or great-grandchildren still mistreating us in a lot of ways. They still believe, but nobody will lie about God. When that's not true. People who are trying to subjugate another people and turn them into slaves, not just physically, but mentally, then they certainly would try to teach them that God looks like me. We thought the only God we had was the one that white people gave us, which was Jesus, okay? And he looked like them. And when we saw them, psychologically, we would transfer that was deity. If it really was unimportant what he looked like, then why didn't he look like some of the majority of the people on earth? Why would he look like the people who are the minority race on the entire earth? We're not the minority.
People always ask me, why do the black church not get rid of the white Jesus and put a blue black Jesus in place with a nappy head? Because black people would stop coming.
In fact, today, if you were to go to Africa and talk to the children who've been Christianized, they will tell you that their ancestors covenanted with devils, and this is why black people are in the condition they are today. So turn to Christianity, and of course you turn to the oppressor's religion, and then you eat the gruel that they give you, and at the bottom it says Jesus saved you. Of course, you're conditioning that person for another 1,000 years.
Christ. When you talk about the image of Christ, why? Because the brain is a associating organism. It stores everything as pictures. And because it is associating, if you force feed an African child that Christ is white, because the brain associates, as that child begins to grow, the brain will associate white Christ with white people. And so if white Jesus is God, then white people must also be the gods of humanity. And so guess what? The power in the painting is transferred to the people who resemble that painting. And so it is difficult to pray to a white Jesus and not in some way feel inferior to white people. And that's why when I talk to Christian ministers, I often tell them you have to change these pictures. They say it don't matter. Of course it matters. Why do you think the European went around the world and systematically altered the image of Christ in every major cathedral, every major church, every corner of the globe? Because it is difficult to oppress a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained by God.
We have to play that right there so again, you know. My brethren said the right thing right there, so we have to play right there so again, you know. I can't see if I can find that spot there. Right, that's what we have to.
So if white Jesus is God, then white people must also be the gods of humanity. And so guess what? The power in the painting is transferred to the people who resemble that painting. And so it is difficult to pray to a white Jesus and not in some way feel inferior to white people. And that's why when I talk to Christian ministers, I often tell them you have to change these pictures. They say it don't matter. Of course it matters. Why do you think the European went around the world and systematically altered the image of Christ in every major cathedral, every major church, every corner of the globe? Because it is difficult to oppress a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained by God. Major cathedral, every major church, every corner of the globe. Because it is difficult to oppress a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained a people whose image of the God doesn't look like the oppressor. But when God and the oppressor look one in the same, then the people will come to believe that the oppression was ordained by God.
Thought-provoking, always smoking, lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
By the way, that was Omar Johnson saying the last piece I saw. This is the cutting edge, and I FM. As you know, it is. War! Here goes.
A Chinese national was captured on video insulting Kenyans, and the president is being deported. Liu Jiaqi was referred to Kenyans as, quote, poor black smelly monkeys, end of quote, is being deported this evening. His flight is set to leave the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport at 10:45 p.m. The Ministry of Immigration says he was deported on racism grounds. Hours after his permit for selling motorcycles was cancelled. The Chinese embassy in Nairobi says that the remarks were personal and do not in any way represent the views of the vast majority of Chinese people.
Yeah, it's like you are punishing me.
It is a clip that has gone viral on social media. Chinese national identified as Liu Jiaqi hurling insults at Kenyans. In the video captured by an employee at his motorcycle shop in Ruiru, he refers to Kenyans, including President Uhuru Kenyatta, as monkeys.
This is all the Kenyans, like a monkey. Even Uhuru, Kenyatta. All of them.
It's like a monkey.
Yeah, sure.
The president of this country.
Yeah, sure.
Liu, who was nicknamed Judge by his employees, brags that there is nothing poor, black, smelly Kenyans can do to him if he fires the employee.
Here.
You don't care.
I don't belong to here. I don't like here. Like a monkey people. I don't like. Talk is them. Smell is bad. And poor. And foolish. And black. Who like them? Why not the right people, like the Americans?
Then why are you coming to do business in Kenya if we are poor, we are black, for money?
The government was quick to act. Liu was arrested and his work permit cancelled. Through its Twitter handle, the Immigration Department said Liu Jiaqi, a Chinese national who was arrested due to his racism remarks, has been deported. But the move, it appears, was not good enough if comments on Twitter are anything to go by. In response to the message by the Immigration Department, many are of the view that he should have been arraigned in court. Kimani says he was within our jurisdiction and the crime was committed in Kenya, so why didn't you charge him? Kadungu Kisumba asks, why deport while they jail our people in China? To Eric Barasa, this could be how the Chinese see us. Liu has been working in the country for the past 8 months with 7 other Chinese nationals who were given a permit to sell motorcycles for Sonling Company that has employed 12 Kenyans. Another fact that has angered Kenyans on Twitter is just how he was given a permit to sell motorbikes, something that can be done by Kenyans. In a statement, the Chinese embassy in Nairobi, through its spokesperson, said the personal talk and the personal feeling of this young man does not represent the views of the vast majority of Chinese people. It is not the first time the Chinese have been linked to racism remarks and actions. In July, the Standard exposed the mistreatment and discrimination of Kenyans working for the Standard Gauge Railway, who are not even allowed to share tables with their Chinese counterparts in the restaurant. Kenya and China enjoy good trade relations, but for some of those who interact with the Chinese at a personal level, the relations are totally different. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Yes, I think that happened last week, if I'm not mistaken, but it's really a strange situation developing, and we can't go and put your head in the sun like we're ostrich. There's something that is developing that we need to address, and the leaders in Africa and in the Caribbean need to address it. Because before these investments taking place, you never hear of these insults. I'm not the first to hear that. You're not the first to hear these things. So we have to really check it. We really have to check it and figure out what the hell is happening. Why is it that our leaders is like ostrich holding them head in the sun when the whole of them other parts is out? Terrible thing, terrible, terrible thing. And we not stop playing these things. We not stop playing them. No.
The people in your life, they either increase you, decrease you, or neutralize you. That is why you need to be very serious about your association. The people in your life, they either increase you, decrease you, or neutralize you. That is why you need to be very serious about your association. So check your relationship, because when wrong people live your life, wrong things will stop happening. Some of you, your life is full of drama, but it is because of the people you have in your life. Tell your neighbor, let them go. Come on, look at your neighbor, say, neighbor, when wrong people live your life, wrong things stop happening. When toxic people live your life, toxic things stop happening. And listen to me, one thing you need to know about wrong association: they will kill your joy. Wrong associations will kill your passion. Wrong association will kill your dream. Wrong association will kill your faith. Wrong associations will kill your drive. Want to make everybody your friend, and some of you are trapped in the wrong relationship because you are saying you don't understand. I have history with this person, but listen to me, just because you have history with somebody doesn't mean you have a future with somebody. Hey, tell your neighbor, just because we have history, that doesn't mean we have a future. And I came to announce to somebody, your destiny is not commanded you to make everybody your friend. Love is a must, but relationship is by choice. Anybody that is not making you better, that is making you bitter, let them go. Even on Facebook, it's not everybody that you have to accept their request. Hey, some people you must delete. You are the CEO of your life. You are the CEO of your life. You are the CEO of your life. You have the right to invite, delete, and terminate.
This is the Cutting Edge. Ill.
Hello.
How's it?
Yeah, man. King James, you know.
Who that?
King James.
Yeah, all right, King James. Give thanks. Yeah?
Bless up the family.
Yeah, man, every time. You're a family too, man.
So, what about the farm motor?
Good evening. Good night.
Good night.
How are you doing, Mr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm okay.
I have a little question for you. I'm not going to be long. It's concerning Israel. Just asking if Israel is, as far as you're concerned, if Israel is a part of Africa.
Of course.
So this question is for you and Mandingo. Why is it you and Mandingo always denounce the religion from Africa? If Israel is a part of Africa, why you and Mandingo always denounce?
Because the people who claim the religion is not them. The people who occupy so-called Israel today are people from Russia and Germany. That land was given to them by the British in 1948. It's not for them land. They were given it. Just like all the Irish leave.
So what about the original? Is there original people away from these white people you're talking about?
The Israelis is different from the Israelites.
I'm talking the Israelites, not really the Israelites, because Mandingo always denounce the true Israelites, the religion that Haile Selassie is a part of.
Because the true Israelites. Who here denounce the true Israelites?
For an example, Christianity then.
No, stop talking about who denounce the true Israelites.
Alright, Mandingo.
Here Mandingo denounce the true Israelites. I hear him denouncing the Israeli them who occupy the land now them called Palestine.
Let me explain what I've heard he said. It's talking about Christianity then, about Hebrew Israelites then. For an example, he wants to say that you have other religion in Africa that the people should accept without the true Israelites. That's just basically what I'm asking.
You have other religions in Africa that do have nothing to do with the Israelites.
Yes, but it seems like when it comes to Israelites and that foundation religion, you people, you and Mandingo personally have a problem with it. I'm just asking.
But you say, you come back onto the same. I'm saying to you that no one is telling people about Hebrew Israelites. What is the problem is the people them in Palestine now that call themselves Israel is not Israelites. They are Israelis and them come from Germany and Russia. What that connection of who you hear talking about true Israelites and true Israelites? You ever hear anybody compare that and against the true Israelites, whosoever them is? We're talking about the so-called Jews who call themselves Israel, the children of Israel, who occupy the people, them land, the Palestinian land, and declare themselves owners of that land. That is the fight. That is what we are against.
Alright, I'm on your side. I'm on Mandingo is an ardent person of your program.
Mandingo we call to. Mandingo we call. Him we call. I can be
I want him to clarify his stand on the true Israelites, if he would accept that there was a religion in Africa. I'm not talking about the Israelis now. I would like Mandingo to defend himself. That's all I'm asking.
No, but the contention is the people them who call themselves Israel, and them is not.
I hear your side, and I understand you loud and clear, Mr. Hope.
Right,
I accept whatever you have to say. I just want Mandingo to defend himself. That's all I'm asking.
So where you calling from?
Me? Where I'm calling from? I'm here in Jamaica.
No, me know which part of Jamaica. It's a normal question where them ask people who call for radio station. Normal question. It's not a CIA, FBI question.
Okay, sir. I'm calling from the western side. I'm from Hanover.
All right, sir. All right.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
Yes. Okay. So, Mandingo, are your turn. The man so like a judge, a jury. All right, you declare yourself. But why your Mandingo declare for himself? Mandingo, hope you listen. That's a weird call, man. We can go back to which part. Where is it? This I didn't want to play it, but it's despicable. All right, you know, so we're going to play it at 12 past 1. I'm going to play this thing. Talking about Jews. Talking about Jews. Talking about Jews. It's so up that I didn't have this. It's not because that brother I'm going to play this. Because I didn't have it. Because I hear all this. All right. Because I hear all this. Yeah.
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 You hear me now, Chief?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Are they really the man up on the planter? The planter me a call from a King Leopold here.
Who this?
Yeah, man. They need the more life and strength. Hear me? Welcome. Yeah. Yeah, hear me?
Yeah, me, I hear you, Bridget.
Yeah, man. Are they really the man? We're glad to see why it's going to your acting to you. You never stand and full despise knowledge, you know. You don't know a wise man acting to why it's going. You don't know a thing come down. So, enough, man. So for them here out, they are fool them, man. Because I think the way you talk, you know, they despise the knowledge, you know. I feel say a joking thing you are talking about. Everything we are talking, I hear, me a young youth, me a 26, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think of King's glory, man, acting. You understand me?
All right.
King of Kings, Lord of Lord, the conquering lion tribe of Judah.
All right, give thanks, Bridget.
I think commandment work up, and I come to work on rules and regulations. Almighty commandment to work with. You understand me?
All right,
all this spice knowledge and you have no knowledge to nothing at all.
Yeah, give thanks. Yes. All right. So we say now, we can't figure out if we want to figure out if Mandingo we go call, but meanwhile Mandingo that call, I want to play this thing, you know. I don't want it cut with that plate, you know. And me tell you say, see that though, just as the man go talk, I did put on this for plate. Eel
Muta. Yes, Mandingo. We are listening, man. We are listening.
Declare yourself.
Yes, I hear.
Declare yourself.
I hear who you refer to as the so-called Judge Jura and Ray, you know.
Declare yourself.
What you said. On my behalf, where I am concerned, is totally true, and I am saying it to all the world to know that what I have always condemned is these Israelis who are Europeans come out of Europe and illegally are on the land which don't belong to them, and also that my African religions existed thousands of years before any Abraham, any Hebrew, or any Jew, etc. And that is my right as an African to practice my original African religions.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm thinking you went. I don't know why I'm thinking you went to something different from what I tell him, you know. I don't know why I'm thinking something different.
In Vietnam, try divide and rule thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I and I as Africans exist long before Abraham.
Long before any Jews.
Exactly. So who is any Israelites or any and let us face it too. The word Israel means someone who wrestles with the Creator and wins, which is blasphemous. How can a human being wrestle with the Almighty Creator and win?
And the same reason with some students up at the university today.
Because some people don't ever realize that the name Israel is a title, which is a blasphemous title that was given to Jacob. That's why I'm called Jacob of Israel.
After a trick we're going. Because remember say Isaac get blind and he was supposed to anoint the oldest son, which was Esau. Yes. And the mother did prefer the younger son, kill an animal, put the skin upon the son, and make the son Israel get the blessing. Jacob get the blessing. So it was a trick.
You know, but remember the thing with Abraham, with Esau and thing that too.
Esau
and Isaac.
Esau and Jacob.
No man,
Ishmael and Jacob and Esau.
Ishmael
and Isaac.
Ishmael, yes.
Ishmael and Isaac.
Exactly. Ishmael, yes. Who in
Egyptian one.
Some people mythology is the father of the Arabs.
Yes.
Right. In mythology, Ishmael is the father of the Arabs. Right? The other one is the father of the what them call the Jews and thing. Yes, but we in no way condone, because the British, as you and I know, who allow those European Israelis to come and occupy the land, and that is after them use the Arabs who were there to defeat the Turks in that war of 1914 to 1918, where this guy Lawrence of Arabia did involve with working with the Arabs then to defeat the Turks who were on the side of the Germans in that European World War of 1914 to 1918, and the Balfour Declaration, where them illegally, the British, make agreement about them to occupy the thing and then establish that state in 1948. As you have correctly said.
And the Russian them come down there, the German them come down there and occupy it. All on a culture, a religion named Judaism, and now declare themselves the art. Them start to declare themselves the art of religion.
And call themselves Israelis.
Yes. And there's no historical reference to any Israeli. Israeli started in 1948.
Precisely. And the next thing about this chosen people is them choose themselves. We African people are chosen. As Dr. Joseph Ben Yochanan used to say. Who choose them? We choose ourselves as African people and things. And our religions in Africa, I mean amongst the Yoruba, where we call the Creator Olodumare. Amongst the Igbo from south, what is now called southeast Nigeria. Chuku. Because in Jamaica we have some people we call them Chuku. But them don't even understand that Chuku is a name meaning the Creator in the Igbo language.
To them it's a bad word.
Exactly. And from Ghana, where them call Ghana now, where we have the Ashanti and the Fanti people, and so Onyame, O-N-Y-A-M-E, is the name of the Creator. And if we were to follow some people, we would disrespect our original African religions from all over the African continent.
The Hebrew religion is a peripheral African thinking thought. The Hebrew religion is peripheral.
But the whole of them, including Islam and thing, them use things from our original African religions and thing, and just come on the scene. So why should we go for the carbon copy when we are the original?
Wait, let me come up for that little. Because we don't come up for that. That's the way I say, I'm so nice. But you me to know. You got the conference in Ghana. You know that they might celebrate.
No.
But you hear about the celebration.
But I know of it.
where Kwame Nkrumah and all of these leaders did have a meeting in Ghana in 1958.
Yes.
And they are going now to celebrate 50 years after. I think it's 50 years after. A lot of leaders, Pan-Africanists coming together in Ghana again to strike what is the road forward. So a lot of all over the African continent, this part of Jamaica, Caribbean, and England are going to converge upon Ghana in the first week of December. I don't know if you hear about it.
Yes, man, I've heard about it for quite some time. And I've also known where some people say that they're not going because the president head of state, president there in Ghana, and some other heads of state, I think the one in Rwanda, Kagame, and so, are being involved. And that these people are some of the same people who are part of the problem in helping the very same European imperialists and thing. I'm just making mention of the reason why I have heard that some people have said publicly that, why they're not participating in it. Yes.
I am going down there.
Yes. No, that's good. And I'm sure that you will give us a good report of the run-ins where that is concerned, because as you said, is a celebration from that which Kwame Nkrumah, Marcus Garvey's student,
Marcus
Garvey in 1958.
Kwame Nkrumah was one of the first continental African to acknowledge Marcus Garvey's influence on his political philosophy.
Yes, he said it in his autobiography. Yes. He said that of all the literature that he read, that none has inspired him and influenced him more than Marcus Garvey's, the philosophy and opinion of Marcus Garvey. Yes. Yeah, man, and that is why he invited the mother of Marcus Garvey Jr., J.F. Garvey, when Ghana became independent, she was invited as his special guest, as one of his special guests. J.F. Garvey.
I know you know because I've heard it.
Yes, I wrote that.
Yes?
No, something just come in a while ago.
Yeah, man, yes. And of course, Kwame Nkrumah was also very good friends with the first wife, my mother's Ashwood Garvey. But talking about this country here, England, savage, with that post-Windrush thing, people who came on the Windrush and after supposed to get citizenship from those who came from 1948 up to about 73, thereabout, 71, 73, entitled to British citizenship. But why is the whole bangarang going on about Brexit and thing to leave European Union or not? Savage Javid, the Pakistani, Home Secretary now, sneaking a thing to deny those people who entitled to British citizenship on the so-called grounds that them committed serious crimes, which people have come out and condemned, because that is a racist thing, because it means that people who are entitled to British citizenship as a result of coming on the Windrush and after, up to the early 70s, are being denied British citizenship, and in sneak it in, hoping that people would not notice it. But fortunately, we as watchers found out about it and have taken him to task, because these people must be entitled to British citizenship, irrespective of whatever crimes that they committed, because they have served their prison sentences for the crimes. So that means that you're penalizing the people. And when they have already done prison time for their crimes, no matter what. Yes. So you see this double standard. And you see this Dominican Republic placed right beside Haiti, which is racist and which you and I and others have condemned in the past when, we say it was wrong for Prime Minister Andrew Holness give them president award after the racism and murder of Africans continuing with this current Dominican Republic thing. A report coming out that in the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic is the center of child sex tourism. Yes, it's the center of child sex tourism, the Dominican Republic. For real, And then we had
the age and them children them are use.
Who? Say that again?
No, I can't say. I can bet you say that age and children them is used for that trade.
Exactly, because they exploit the poverty and the suffering of the thing. Exactly. A sad situation and that is something that we must really keep in the highlight, that there are people who born in the Dominican Republic and because their parents are African from Haiti denied citizenship of the Dominican Republic. This is something that Andrew Holness should take up at the diplomatic level with the Dominican Republic. Yes.
Trust me, them not take up that.
They're not taking it up, but we talking about it.
Yeah. You hear at the university in England that is now acknowledging them role in slave trade.
Yes.
And they are willing now to pay reparation. You hear about it?
Yes, I have heard of it, and it's just that the name of the university slips.
I think it started with W. I look for it, Wilbury or Wilsbury, I don't remember.
I'm thinking that it's some university, Liverpool, or something like that.
Yes.
But it is a university. I've read it. That have acknowledged their role in the enslavement of our African people. I'm talking about that in the coming you must also realize too that what Trump going on with in terms of deporting people and so that began with Obama. The mass deportation and that type of thing. It began with Obama, so I'm just continuing that role. And where it go for sure that every USA president, them foreign policy and them racist policy is always the same, whether Republican or Republican or Democrat. I don't know if you see the show that Yardy.
I hear about it so much. I hear about it. They have a little screening down here.
Yeah, well, I saw it, and except for some good, there's some classic reggae songs that in it and thing, and I'm not really pleased about it because it's continuing the stereotype.
Gun crime and thing. But they have another one where they make another watcher. They have another one where I make come off of the same gun thing, Every move we make in Jamaica,
there are so many good stories and good things by we in Jamaica and so on. And this continued thing, we're just showing violence and thing. And in this the film, it associating sound systems with cocaine dealing and violence. This is wrong. This is deliberate. And of course, Idris is just the director, but it is owned by some English guys. And them want to finance something to show our people in Jamaica in a positive light. And the next thing too, we have very many excellent Jamaican actors and actresses in Jamaica and Jamaican actors and actresses in this country who should have been given roles in that. And instead you have people who are not Jamaicans imitating Jamaican accents in it. It sounds so stupid. You know what I mean?
All the while them do that. Them do that all the while, bro.
All the while them do that. I mean, we have people like Carl Bradshaw and, in a Third World Cup, the youth who act as the bad boy in a Third World Cup. against the third world brethren. We have good people like actors, Audrey Reed and them thing there. And I just say, all the while, them do them thing there. All you and get a role in a that, you know, as one of the Rasta them in the movie with the yard scene and thing, and many others. Yeah. You know, all the while them do them thing there.
All right,
the thing with Idris.
Rapper move.
Yeah, but finally, him father from Sierra Leone, him not make a negative film about Sierra Leone. But anyhow, take care until next week.
Yeah, man, give thanks.
Blessed love.
Give thanks. Yes, Cutting Edge.
Mutabaruka.
I did.
Yes, I see Mutabaruka, I see the president who have gone to Africa to get the next photo opportunity. Why them always have to have these pictures with white woman?
Which president?
The guy where they saw Trump. Why them have to have these pictures with white woman that hold black baby all the while to make a statement, and we can't say it's a statement they might make for trick with eyes.
I don't know. It's one of them diplomacy where heads of state go through all the while.
Yeah, but it's some trick them up to, you know?
Yeah, we know
it's
that.
Some trick them up to.
Part of the game, you know?
Part of the system, and you see, when I go on, you stand out, them sentence Bill Cosby and in the same day, them are send a man where accuse a certain thing up on them Supreme Court.
You know, so brother make a comment about it and I did go play it tonight and it gone, it slipped me.
Yeah.
A very serious analysis the brethren make of it. I did want to play it tonight, but it slipped me. But is that true thing? Black America, white America, we build you up straight up the sun and let you go and boof when you're black.
Yep.
Yes. But when you're white, I tell you, the amount of forgiveness.
Yeah. And a lot of us just see this thing and think this thing is for us. Yeah. You know what I mean? We think this system is for us, and we're still not understanding the more things change, the more it remains the same.
Part of the system.
You know what I mean? The more things change, the more it remains the same, because the same thing what them used to do in a Coantel Pro, them a come back with the same kind of thing for we right now as African people, and we still not understand what we want. You know, and the next thing we will see Aguana Jamaica right now, all these developments. Well, all my daughter grandpicking them have to still pay for them roads and bridges.
When the man who make the deal dead, your great grandchildren will be paying Chinese people from now till died kingdom come on.
Yeah, understand. And until we then go and take it, and then we have to then go and make all kind of things where we have to start talk Chinese, and we have to go can't go there so and can't go there so. Because the Chinese them are dealing with a similar thing what the European them do. You understand?
Yeah, in a different way.
But them just are doing it in a different strategy.
Yeah, different way.
But, we have to continue to listen to people like you, you know what I mean? You will keep certain things, in my opinion, make certain people understand. And Sister Cabo, me have to rate her up, see me, big up all Mandingo and them thing there. And them man, the people keep certain things in them, because when you put certain things out there, it catch on to a certain people, certain, you know what I mean? And we have to do a start a conversation and make people think.
Of course.
That's the thing.
Conversation is always the priority, man.
You know,
that's how you start things going.
May I make somebody else get the opportunity, but I have to pick up my brethren in East Kingston, Fireball, Star, everybody, and youth in East Kingston. I have to understand, if we continue to kill off on one another way there, when the time comes for we have to fight for our own, we are kill off one another, kill off a strong them, you know what I mean? You can't kill off kill off one another, and we don't even know who we are fight for.
Yeah.
You know? We don't even know where I fight for, but I love Muta.
All right, so we have this advertisement you have to play before the program done, and then we want itchy in this thing, and we will play from the first call we have criticized me and Mandingo, where we never even plan to do, but we'll play this advertisement. Yes, this is the cutting edge. So we're going to play this thing, you know, where if a man just attack to the next man that way, is like, it's so horrible that a man could even say what he must say to the next man. Whether I'm want to say something goes so or not, but even him say it. So we're going to play it. Here we go.
And, I know you know because I've heard it on your show before. I mean, we steal 100 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and we drain their blood and we mix it with a Passover bread, and then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind up all the bodies in the sausage and the hamburger. McDonald's is one of our favorite outlets, and the people, they eat it for breakfast, they eat their children for lunch, and as Jews, we got to do what we do. The most important thing to remember between you, Pastor Wickstrom, and me, Rabbi Avi Finkelstein of New York, that we both have two fathers, and so that's why we look at the world in two different ways.
And we know that there's a massive collision that's going to take place between two forces, don't we?
Well, that's what your book says. Our book says that we're going to take over the world.
Well, I look at you...
You're doing a pretty good job right now.
Yes, you've done a pretty good job, but there's quite an awakening coming. And my father, who's not your father, my father Yahweh, who isn't your father, of course, your father is talked about by my father in John 8:44, stating that your father was Satan and that you're the descendant of Cain, who was the first murderer. And you know that's true because you teach it in your synagogue.
Well, that's true, but it's not for you Goyim to know. But right now it's too late. It's over for you white race. So that's why I'm speaking so honestly here, to bring it out into the open so that you can see it for what it is. You've been teaching the people real good, but they don't wake up, do they? You don't get a lot of followers, do they? Because you know why? They're scared of us Jews because they don't want to be called anti-Semites, and they believe that we're the chosen people, and so that's why we can do whatever we want to do, and we can get away with it because the white men are cowards, and we go to the synagogue all the time and have some Manischewitz and dance the Hava Nagila.
It's interesting. I've told people for years and years, it's not that you Jews are hiding anything. You're coming right out on television, in the newspapers, on the radio, and you're telling the people exactly what you're going to do before you do it, and they're brain dead.
Well, we did a good job with the public school system. We got you to put all of your children in there. You notice that the Jew doesn't put his children in there. They go to the Hebrew Academy where we teach them the real things, and then they go to the synagogue and they learn the real important things. But we send your kids to the public school. We even have you tax yourself from your property so that you never own your property. And so if you don't make your property tax, we're going to take your property. You can bet on that. And we have you put your kid in a 12-year babysitting is about all it does because you don't learn anything. And then by that time, the kids, they get to be teenagers, and then we give them the music. Not that we really want to call it music because, oy vey, that's not music. But they listen to that, and then they want to do what they want to do, and so we sell them drugs, and we make a lot of money off your children. Your children from cradle to grave. All we do is make money off of them. Your cattle, your goyim, the human cattle. Mazel tov.
It's interesting. Yes, I know what you call us, but you may call me Goyim, but I can call you devil, but you know I'm going to be calling you a good name because that's what you are.
Well, that's true.
Now, you see, Rabbi Finkelstein, in your synagogue out there in New York, Do you have a lot of infighting with the other Jews, the Orthodox Jews and the other Jews? I mean, is there a lot of infighting for the money out there in New York? I've heard that there's a big inner war going on now with Jewry.
Well, we fight a little bit and we argue a little bit. Of course, that's the two most important things we do is complain and get the gelt. And so what we do, we're not really fighting among ourselves because we're both going to make a lot of money. It's just who's going to make a little more on this deal and who's going to make a little more on that deal. The bottom line, though, is we have the Goyim. The Goyim does all the work. The Goyim makes all the stuff. He sells it to us for pennies. We're the wholesalers. We're the middlemen. We mark it way up and sell it to the other Goyim on the retail side. There's an old saying in Yiddish that the reason that God made Gentiles is because somebody has to pay retail. It's not going to be the Jew for sure. The Jew doesn't pay retail. It's the Goyim that pays retail. We buy wholesale.
Well, that's very interesting. I understand it. But I also know the bloodletting. I know that on your Passover, which isn't mine, that a lot of little children do disappear, and I do know that, and I know a lot of police departments and agencies have been informed, but you're very open. You're very open tonight. I'm very surprised that you're talking about the bloodletting of the little children, that you put their blood in the matzo balls, and that you eat it on sacrifice on Passover.
Well, there was a Goyim that wrote a book about it back in the 30s. I forget his name at the moment. But anyway, he wrote the book. People didn't buy the book. People don't want to listen. We've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, since down to Adam's time. We take the children of our enemy, which is the white race, and we bring them to the basements in the synagogues, where we drain the blood and watch them die there. It's very similar to how we do the sacrifices that we do with the kosher butchering, and so we do that, and then we mix it with the Passover bread, and so we eat the blood of our enemies. And the bodies, we're not cannibals, so what we do is we take those, because we can make some shekels, and we give them to the slaughterhouses, and those are pounds and pounds and pounds of meat that we grind up in the sausage and the hamburger, and that's why we made those the most popular thing, sausage for breakfast and hamburger for lunch. And so all the Goyim out here are really eating their children. And even when we say this outright and tell you people, you don't believe it. So that's your problem.
You know, I've got a question, and I yes, it is a problem. But you see, I've always wondered, how did you Jews ever get control of the i.e. Christian churches in this country? It's always baffled me to a varying degree, Rabbi Finkelstein. You have your synagogue out there in New York on the East Coast, but I'm wondering, how did you ever totally get control of these Christian churches who at one time told their congregations to stay away from you Jews? How did that happen?
Well, our father Lucifer, the number one thing of all the organizations out there on the earth that we would want to infiltrate and take over of you Goyim, obviously would be the churches. So we attacked them first, and we attacked them most. And we infiltrated the Catholic Church right from the very beginning. Why do you think the Pope and all the cardinals and the bishops wear a yarmulke? The white race never figures this out. And so then we took all your books that had all your scriptures in there, and we burned them. And then we wrote them in Latin so that you couldn't understand them. But we understood Latin because we're Jews and we're smart and we're educated. But you Goyim out there, you never teach yourself. You don't self-teach. You're always looking for somebody else to do it for you. So you wind up being schleppers all your life. And so anyway, 1,000 years later, when a bunch of the white race started to wake up in Europe, and they started to leave the Catholic Church, it was a terrible time because we weren't making as many shekels as we used to. So we had to put a stop to it. So the kings that we had in our hip pocket, just like the politicians in Washington, D.C. today, we paid them off to get you declared heretics so that they would crucify you and kill you. But there was too many of you, and the West was opening up, where the Jews opened up New York and Rio, and everybody started going west to the Americas. And so we had to come up with a Plan B. And Plan B, we formed the Jesuits. It was a nice boy, Ignatius Loyola, that he started the Jesuits. And so they decided to infiltrate all the Protestant churches out there. And as always, us Jews work our way to the top. And then we take over the money line, the shekel line, the most important line, the lifeline, the gold. And so we took that over. And so...
Yes, two guys sit down and try a thing. Very interesting. That two men should have sit down and try that. One proposed to be a Christian and one proposed to be a Jew, but the other one same is Jew too. So, you know them really. This is the things them that these people just configure. Lie or truth. Them just configure these things. You understand? And African people are where we there. Because if two idiots can sit down and chat them foolishness there. Where we there, in all of those little scheming and conniving. Because if I notice when they make them movie, and they talk about certain destruction and this and that, and beginning and start over in a futuristic level. No Africa no unite at all. The one little futuristic thing will come the other day, they name Black Panther. And in the end, they show you a little a brethren who just become so passive and non-resistant to the whole level of thinking will take place around him. That the man who stand up feet look like him the wicked man. Terrible. The man who stand up against the system and want to destroy the system become the wicked man, and the man who now compromise the whole situation for make Wakanda go back to the same foolishness. It's him become the hero. So, you know, them really, it's weird. Anyway, we want to say give thanks to the moment. Give thanks to sit here with me. And when we say sit here with me, I mean like, just like when I sit down, I know you are sit down too. And those who are lie down, some people will lie down and vex so them never reach us all. Tomorrow them are going to say, right, you know, so me drop asleep and never ever realize it. I will by the time I watch a movie and I say, boy, I want to see that movie, you know. And me just drop asleep, I say, me wake up, the movie done, the next movie I start. Me vex. Well, I find say something similar after I work by people with this thing, you know, in the night, that them really are listening and them just doze out by the time they wake up. I done. Like now, some people just wake up for come here and say the program, I could know that all. This is the Cutting Edge on RFM. We're there with you again, you know. Not tomorrow, little more. From 2 to 5:45 with the Stepping Razor, the art of war. And it's a total different program. You'll never believe say the same people, same person I do the program. So, yeah man, we are play this. Here we go. The chicks they Arab. I don't know if it's a Arab. I don't know if it's a Syrian. I don't know if it's a Pakistanian. It definitely don't look like a Jamaican. I'm going to play with last tune and give Matrix the time till 6 o'clock. But when I play this tune now, I don't know. Matrix ever hear about Janis Joplin? Come like a bad word, me I tell you now. You ever hear about Janis Joplin?
No.
You ever hear about Jimi Hendrix? You hear about Jimi Hendrix? Well, there was a time when Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Bob Dylan, the Beatles, all of them white group there, white people there used to reign supreme when it come on to protest music during the 60s, hippie days and all them things there. Well, a whole heap of them dead through drugs. When name again? Bob Dylan. You ever hear that tune, I Shall Be Released? Well, Eptone sing? Yeah, man, you hear it, man. I just threw me say it, why not know it? They say every man can be replaced. They say every... I see that light come shining from the west down to the east. You never hear that tune yet? I mean, you know, I'm not going to play the tune, make you hear it. Because I know you hear the tune, but tune me can't sing, you don't know, you can't identify. I'm not going to play the tune. Because I'm vex, so you talk about you never hear it yet. Serious thing. I'm not going to play the tune, make you hear it. Because the thing is that a whole heap of Jamaican don't know, say it's not a Jamaican song, and a whole heap of people don't know, say, is a white man named Bob Dylan write the song, I Shall Be Released. But it's just you don't know it, no, me vex. But make me so like me can't sing at all, that you can't identify nothing with me I say. I tell you. So we have to go find the tune, you know. We have to go find the tune make you hear it because me not going to sleep good tonight. Me not going to sleep good tonight because you say you don't know it. And I'm me make you say you don't know it, you know. And not because you don't know it. And me make you say you don't know it. No, man. Stop saying you don't know it, no, man. Say a true Muta, you not sing it good. Yeah, that's your first say, man. That's what I say. Original one we play now. But that's why you get that glimpse. Don't you know that tune, the latter? She said she don't know the tune. How much you will is? How much you will is? No, serious. Yeah, how much? Yeah, 28. I say you don't know that tune, yeah? You know, say, if me did own IRFM, you know, every worker could take a course in a Jamaican music, you know. And I tell you, you could have cleaned out the place. You have to take a course in a Jamaican music. You could have been the security guard. You have to take a course in a Jamaican music. Because when a 28-year-old said she don't know that tune, yeah, she needs to go get a course in Jamaican music and stop answer phone. But you know the tune matter. Alright. Well, it's a brother named Bob Dylan write that tune. Him get a award the other day and him never go accept it. Some peace award or some award. But them call it Nobel Prize. Him get it and him never go feed. But anyway, me enough I go feed still. But the reason why I tell you these things is because the same artists I tell you about like Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, you know, the Beatles, and you have many more. You have a whole heap of them. Them was like the thing in the 60s, protests and about the Vietnam War and you know about the Vietnam War. So what? Wait there. Then wait there. When me born in the 50s. I know about Adam create Eve. And Eve. Then look how far Adam and Eve. I know about it. You thought when you born, I say you couldn't know about it. Then wait there. So two you never born, and tell you can't know about them things there. Mark, you know about you ever hear about a man? Aye, you ever hear about a man named Marcus Garvey? What you hear about Marcus Garvey say? What you hear about Marcus Garvey say? I don't mean to ask you. Yeah. Them been a great man too. That not say nothing. Matrix a great man too, you know. You know about Matrix? You see, you so have to learn about him in a... You so have to learn about him in a school. Watch, Matrix who used to play at IRFM. We tell you come out when them write the books. Name the DJs them used to play between 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock on a Wednesday or a Thursday morning. You have to go to Matrix or to lose. Anyway, we give thanks to the moment and the time. So why we going to play this now? We're going to play Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin. In a reggae style. Alright, so here we go now. Janis Joplin. Come up, Janis Joplin. Make I hear you. And we're gone, you know.